Word on the street isn't just gossip anymore. It's starting to sound like a warning shot. Sharina Hudson is reportedly preparing to expose how Kevin Hunter allegedly kept Wendy Williams dependent on substances while she was still on air. And the timing of this threat is not random. It's financial. According to reports circulating around their circle, Kevin's money pipeline has completely dried up. Not struggling, not slowing, but collapsed. And Sharina is said to be considering extreme pressure tactics because he can barely provide for their daughter, a child who was effectively being supported by Wendy's alimony for years. Now, critics will argue this is just another messy celebrity breakup story, but that explanation fails when you look at the pattern. Leverage appears only when resources disappear. Based on long-running custody and support trends in high-profile divorces, financial desperation is often a trigger for reputational warfare, not closure. And at a cold, factual level, the math doesn't work anyway. Because if Kevin is already broke, the threat isn't about collecting money. It's about extracting power. So the real question isn't where the cash will come from. It's what happens when the last current
who moved to the big city with bright lights, and she wanted to be a model. And so you know how the girls with the sparkler champagne bottles at the club, they get people to spend more money, they dress scantily clad and things like that. And I, being the girl about town, popular on the radio at that time, I was hosting a lot of these parties and I was a staple. I had the Wendy Williams Comedy Night at the Caroline's Comedy Club and things like that. And so, yeah, get over there with the sparkling girls and, hi girls, go look, see that guy right there? He's got money. See, because I knew the scene and attracted the scene. And all their job was to go over there and offer a sparkler champagne for more money than you normally spend for champagne, and guys would actually pay it. Kevin's problem is that Kevin ended up getting with this girl. She made herself very available to him. She was very disrespectful to me. Do you know he had the nerve to tell me that she admires me?
Not unless there's some hidden stash that only Sharina Hudson managed to uncover. Or unless this whole situation is less about money and more about vengeance. Maybe she caught Kevin Hunter cheating and decided exposure would be her currency of revenge. I don't know. And psychologically, that uncertainty is exactly what keeps this story alive. Because scandal grows in the space between rumor and proof. But honestly, I wish I could say I'm surprised by how things are turning out with Kevin. And I'm not. So let's move past the speculation and into what Sharina allegedly knows. Longtime Wendy watchers already remember that Wendy Williams was planning a return to radio. And according to people close to the situation, that shift was supposed to happen the moment her divorce from Kevin was finalized. Now, critics will argue this sounds exaggerated, but that argument collapses when you look at how small and interconnected the entertainment industry really is. Based on past exit trends from television to radio, word rarely stays secret. And reports say Kevin found out she was preparing to walk away from TV. And that's where the story turns from messy to disturbing. Allegedly, he refused to let that happen and worked a production to keep Wendy medicated. Not enough to shut the show down, just enough to keep her functional and compliant. Guess what? That tea Wendy drank on camera every day wasn't just a prop. It was allegedly the delivery system, designed to keep her working while making her slightly delusional. Every time she sat in her chair and dropped that tea bag in her cup, she wasn't even the one pouring the hot water, and that detail matters because access is power. Over time, whatever was allegedly being slipped into that cup began producing side effects, which explains why she increasingly appeared off on set. It also reframes that infamous fall in the green suit, which reports say may have been connected to what was being put in her tea. Based on multiple accounts, the long-term strategy was brutal and mechanical. Keep her medicated as long as she could still perform, extract value for as long as possible, then discard her when she was no longer useful. At a cold, analytical level, this fit the pattern of treating people like assets instead of humans. And what makes it darker is a claim that Kevin didn't just know about it, he orchestrated it, with Sharina allegedly aware of what was happening behind the scenes. And when you think back, Wendy herself hinted at this on air, asking if her team had put something in her tea, even joking that if they were going to slip her a pill, they should at least stir it so she couldn't see the residue. Then there's a producer who took his own life after Wendy left the show, officially blamed on budget theft. But many felt something about that story never added up. Maybe, just maybe, he knew too much. And what about that wellness check at Wendy's house, when Kevin was accused of poisoning her? What if that wasn't paranoia but a warning sign? It's very possible something was happening, and Kevin and Sharina knew about it. And if street talk means anything, Sharina is now allegedly ready to tell exactly what she knows, which suggests whatever is happening between her and Kevin has reached a breaking point. I mean, what more could she do with a man who stopped providing? Put the house they live in up for sale, took out loans on 2 luxury cars through a company called Flex Wealth, and then got hit with a lawsuit from UBS Bank for refusing to pay his credit card bill. At a human level, this lands because dependence turns into betrayal the moment the money runs out. And remember, there were already claims that Sharina left Kevin because he could no longer support her and their daughter, since Wendy's alimony had been paying for all 3 of them until the show ended. Even before that, Sharina's lifestyle was reportedly financed by Wendy's money, which propped up a string of failed business attempts. Massage therapy school, a mall kiosk in North Carolina, an online jewelry and clothing brand called Vish, a real estate license, even a vegan company after everything else collapsed. Kevin even bought her a house just miles from Wendy's, using Wendy's money. According to Wendy, none of it worked because Sharina simply wasn't that sharp. And that's where the story gets uncomfortable, because when the funding dries up, secrets suddenly...
You know what I'm saying?
They said you're cognitively impaired and you're incapacitated.
Do I seem that way?
No.
You've been
God
calling,
damn it.
You've been calling me 5 times a day for the last 2 weeks. No, you don't seem that way.
And just how dare, excuse me, who I naturally am is who I naturally am, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes.
And my niece knows all about that. I mean, I'm sorry. I apologize.
And to be clear, you can't leave. Like, they won't allow you to leave or have visitors, family members or not. So you can't even leave and take a walk if you wanted to. Or
So for a while, they tried to stage manage the collapse and pretend everything was fine, like putting fresh paint on a house with cracked foundation. Kevin Hunter even posted that dramatic birthday tribute to Sharina Hudson, calling her his wife, in all caps with double exclamation points in writing. Happy birthday, my queen, mother, chef wife. If you want it, you can get it for the rest of your life. As a performance could replace provision. Psychologically, this is classic image control. When the resources disappear, the words get louder. But according to reports, once Sharina stopped receiving anything from Kevin, the relationship stopped making sense, and suddenly she had no incentive to stay. That's why it shocked people to hear she allegedly went back home, especially since she had reportedly cut off her entire family years earlier. And remember, when Kevin's affair first became public, even her own relatives sided against her, saying she played a major role in destroying Wendy Williams' marriage. In an interview, her uncle openly blamed her, saying she should have known right from wrong, and reminding people that she left South Carolina long ago and rarely returned, not even for holidays. Sharina thought she had secured the bag, and for a while she did, because even after Wendy divorced Kevin, Wendy was still sending those checks. So Sharina stayed protected by the same money she helped destabilize. But once that pipeline dried up, she had no choice but to crawl back to the family she once abandoned. Now, critics will argue this is just messy personal drama, but that explanation fails when you look at Kevin's legal behavior. He has repeatedly gone back to court again and again, try to reopen the settlement with Wendy, claiming fraud, misrepresentation, and misconduct, which is just another way of saying he still believes there's money out there he can reach. He even leaned on an affidavit from Wendy's close friend Regina Shell, who said that in July 2022 she saw Wendy's cumulative bank balance and later accompanied her to a private banking presentation at Bank of America in December 2022, where senior advisors laid out financial products and options. Regina also said that after that meeting, she, Wendy, and Wendy's guardian were all in the same car heading to court. Then came the sudden twist, when Wendy's publicist claimed to have overheard a conversation where the guardian said there was no money left in Wendy's accounts. Kevin seized on that contradiction as proof that Wendy must be hiding money somewhere, and he used in court as the basis to demand more. But here's the cold, surgical counterpoint. In a countersuit, Wendy's guardian Sabrina Morrissey said Kevin was the one who actually owed Wendy money. According to her filing, Kevin's alimony was conditional on Wendy earning at least twice her 2020 income, and once Wendy stopped hosting the show and lost her full salary in October 2021, Kevin kept collecting anyway. 3 months of $37,500 payments equals $112,500. And Sabrina said that money represented unjust enrichment that should be paid back with interest. Data from past celebrity divorce cases shows this pattern clearly. When income collapses but payments continue, the person receiving them becomes financially dependent on a reality that no longer exists, and resentment turns into litigation. So Kevin isn't just broke, he's in debt and still chasing money that may not even be there, which makes the question sharper. What exactly does Sharina expect him to give her now? Maybe he did to her what he once did to Wendy. And psychologically, betrayal feels different when it happens to you instead of for you. You lose them the same way you get them. And now Sharina may want revenge dressed up as truth. Meanwhile, Wendy is fighting a separate war altogether. She has been publicly questioning why she's been under guardianship since 2022, even after scoring perfectly on 2 capacity tests, and says she still has to wait for another evaluation controlled by the same system that controls her finances. In interview after interview, she said she wants her money and her decision-making power back. And one of the first places she voiced that was on The Breakfast Club, which reignited public debate about whether this is protection or control. If this trend continues, this story won't stay a celebrity scandal. It will become a warning about what happens when money, power, and guardianship collide. And that's where the story stops being gossip and starts becoming uncomfortable.